Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you all for coming. I'm glad the hecklers are still to arrive. So you can't come to Mahfil Ali without getting asked difficult questions. I expect many questions being asked. I just thought I'd start off by introducing myself. I think a lot of people know who I am within this community. I took some time out last year from work. I work for Sky. And I wanted to go on a journey. And the journey was really asking that particular question, which was, can marginal gains make big impact? So this is a journey that I wanted to take you on today. And I really want to answer this question, hopefully for myself and also for others. And I hope that at the end of it, you'll agree with me that marginal gains can make big impact when we talk about the story of East Africa. So I think I need to, is that? Oh, there you go. That's it. So I want to start off by really talking about what the purpose was and what my purpose was, really. And I can only describe that in a simpler sense in the form of 3 I's. Normally we have 2, but today we have 3. The 3 I's are pretty much talking, relating to in terms of what I wanted to achieve. So if I start off with the first I being the inform, inspire, and involve. And let me explain what I mean by that. When I started this journey, I wanted pretty much to create a bit of awareness. So when I went on my journey, I actually picked Muharram as being the time where all of us seem to shed a lot of tears for Imam Hussein, quite rightly so, and all the martyrs of Karbala. And I really wanted to get people to shed their tears and turn it into drinking water. So what I mean by that really was, can people perhaps donate to water wells in East Africa and really make a difference for them? So that was about creating awareness and to inform people what they could do. The other one was, as I said to everybody, that I work for Sky. Sky is a big media company. It itself probably promotes and encourages many types of phobia, including Islamophobia. And I actually went out of my way to pretty much make a point that, that really we as Muslims really do care about other human beings, and we just, want to make a difference, and rather, and kind of change a bit of the stereotype. And I did that by actually doing a lot of communication through the internet and intranet within work, and there's about 24,000 people who work there, and majority of them are non-Muslims. So that was one of the purpose that I wanted to kind of counter. The other one was really inspire myself in terms of literally seeing, for myself what was happening over there in terms of the poverty and the desperation, and really rather than being a sofa donor, as I would call it, sitting on sofas, and we all do it, and we should continue to do so, but really, and watch the world from our comfortable places, I really wanted to go and see it for myself. I also wanted to set a good example, obviously for my children, and pretty much, encourage them that we should share what we have with others, and to thank Allah for our good fortunes. Involve was all about everyone to make a difference. So to galvanize everybody and mobilize myself and others to make a difference. So that really was the purpose of my visit, and the purpose of what I wanted to achieve just before Christmas. So Now, this is very difficult when you stand in front of everybody and you kind of want to talk about charity and trying to make a difference. You can sound very arrogant and pompous and self kind of congratulatory. I really hope that this is not what you get out of today. I think my purpose is pretty much sums up from the quote that I've put on the board, which is pretty much that whenever we do something, we don't do it because we want to be seen to be doing it. We want to do it because we want to see others, right? And climbing that mountain was about not to be seen and kind of say, look at me. It's all about going out there and seeing what others and what they're facing. Foolishly, I wanted to find something that could perhaps make a big impact and change, and change something, make it something really big, and attempt to do something I've never done before. But during my journey, I actually learned two significant lessons. And I want to tell you what I learned in the form of 3 stories. And the 3 stories are about 3 different kind of individuals. One is about a guy called Matt Parker, right? He was part of the British cycling team. And as you know, Sky sponsors sponsors cycling and the cycling team that enter the Olympic Games. I want to talk to you about another guy called Mario Capecchi. Mario Capecchi is a Nobel Peace Prize winner in genetics. And then my 3rd story is going to be about what I saw in East Africa. They're just 3 stories, nothing more, and I hope it articulates the story of marginal gains. So let me start off by talking to you about this guy called Matt Parker. Now, you probably didn't expect me to talk about this, so it's a surprise, okay? Now, Matt Parker, right, joined the British cycling team, a very successful cycling team. I don't know how many, if you know, but Britain won 7 gold medals out of 10, right? Rest of the world, 3, Britain, 7. How did they do that? Well, this guy, Matt Parker, he started examining little things that could make a big difference, right? And we wanted to make British cycling success. So he did things like, very simple things. He said, you are surrounded by lots of foreign athletes. You know, you're sharing rooms with them. You're sharing facilities with them. You know, very simply, wash your hands wherever you go. Make sure they're clean because you'll pick up germs, right? Don't take Olympic buses, right? Okay? Don't share your germs with them, okay? Avoid getting ill, right? Take an orthopedic pillow, right? Or your favorite pillow, because wherever you go when you're traveling, you need to sleep comfortably. He invented something called hot pants, right? And I'll tell you a bit about what hot pants are, and they're not what you think, right? Hot pants are basically, in cycling, they're electric, battery-charged pads that go around, obviously, your waist. And what used to happen was when athletes used to warm up, and before they actually raced, there was about 10, 15 minutes, which basically their muscles cool down. So in order to keep the muscles pretty much warm, he invented something called the hot pants, right? And what would happen is before the athlete actually went on the bike, just before the race, he would literally rip them off. They were like padded. He looked at things like putting alcohol around the tires because it gets rid of dirt and grime and it gets more traction on the wheels and it actually makes it go faster off the block. He also looked at something called the golden hour. The golden hour is something between a semi-finals and a final, right? It's 1 hour in between those two events. And what used to happen was most athletes would not spend time recovering, right? Resting and recovering. He did everything possible to make sure the British athletes did that. So he used, got people to do, massages, warm baths, etc., and literally have rest during that 1 hour. And funnily enough, the British cycling team went faster in the final than they did in the semi-final. And the rest of the world went slower in the final than they did in the semi-final. So why am I telling you all this, right? Well, the reason I'm telling you all this is that Matt Parker realized that when you accumulate lots of marginal gains, right, all these different innovations, it will provide you an extra edge towards success, okay? He believed every little helps and proved that all those little things make a big impact. And the big impact really was British cycling won 7 gold medals out of 10. Can anybody guess what his job title was? It's the best job title I've ever seen. His job title was Head of Marginal Gains, right? Okay, and it's an absolutely amazing story, and this guy has literally transformed. And the reason I'm mentioning this to you is that he proved marginal gains. All these little different things make a big difference. So that's story number 1. Let me tell you about story number 2. This is a guy called Mario Capecchi. Yeah, he's an Italian-born American scientist who won, as I said, Nobel Peace Prize. Basically, this man has really defined the science of the 21st century, yeah? And I'll tell you how he's done that. This guy pretty much was born at the time during the Second World War. His mother was taken to a concentration camp, right? Death camp, in fact. And all his compatriots pretty much thought that when he was growing up, he thought all his ideas were pretty much unworthy. And this guy, really, the reason I'm telling you this is he actually embodies the best of what the can-do spirit. This guy overcame the issues of being without a mother, literally, working himself up to go to Harvard. He studied under James Watson, the guy who's famous for the DNA research, right? The pioneer, pretty much, of DNA research. And his area of interest really was gene targeting. So I'm going to have to read this to you because I'm not a scientist, right? Okay? And if I get this messed up completely, right, the whole story goes. So I'm going to read this to you, okay? His area of interest, as I said to you, was gene targeting. Involved injecting DNA into the nuclei of cells, as you can tell, I'm going to get scientific here, and trying to change their genetic makeup. From the start, the dream, now rapidly turning into reality, was to be able to control the mutation process and effectively take control of the gene change in mammalian cells. See, I can't even say that. Right, this guy basically wanted to knock out a gene and replace it. Right, that's the kind of the hub of it. He went to the National Institute of Health and asked for some funding, and they told him he was crazy. Right? They gave him some money because they believed in this guy, but they basically didn't want to fund his gene research. That was in 1980. 4 years later, he had actually worked out how to do this, right? He went back to the National Institute of Health, and this time his application was greeted enthusiastically. In fact, the letter says, "We're very glad that you didn't follow our advice," because this guy literally did what you'd expect him to do. He did that big thing. He made a very, very big impact, right? He went for the big one. But for 4 years, he encountered many failures, false dawns, challenges, until he got that big one. But he persevered. Now, the difference between Mario Capecchi and Matt Parker is very simple. Mario Capecchi is climbing the mountain, the same mountain. He just keeps climbing it, right? And in order to get those success, every day it's a success, right? and every day he makes a difference. Mario Capecchi found a different mountain, right? And he basically conquered that. And the reason I'm telling you this is that this is the question. Yeah, so there are two distinct ways, as I believe it, that you can make a difference. One, you can go for marginal gains. One, you can make a big impact. There's just two ways of doing it. These guys are two different people making very, very big impact. So before I go into the story number 3, I just wanted you to hold that thought when you are looking at my trip in Africa, because it's all about marginal gains, and it's all about how people can make a difference. So before I kind of move on to the third story, which is about Africa, just wanted to tell you what we're talking about here. We're talking about the area, right, of pretty much here, eastern Kenya, which is this area here, okay, kind of Gasa, Vajir, Mandera. And then, unfortunately, it's not in the map. You've got in north of Tanzania, you've got Mwanza and kind of Bukoba just around there. And this is the story. This is the places that I kind of visited in my few weeks away. And before I went, I actually researched this area, as you'd expect me to do. And I'm not going to read all of this, but I'm just going to give you kind of the taste of this, kind of a gist of it. Imagine this area. This area is just, it's a drought. Yeah, it's a drought all the time. There's not much rainfall, okay? The conditions are so harsh, it's unbelievable, right? There is no economic investment. These guys are poor. The state is poor. They've just got nothing. High poverty rates, lowest literary rates, especially for women. Very low attendance at school, right? And I'll go into the reasons why later on. There's no infrastructure. There's no energy. There's no water. There's no sanitation. There are no roads. If I would, to go from Nairobi to this place, and if I didn't stop, it would take me 12 to 13 hours, right? Okay, to go there. It is just barren land. They've had 3 droughts in a row, successive years, worst drought in 50 years, between 2009 and 2011. They depend on livestock. Their livelihoods depend on livestock. These guys, this area is completely in a huge influx of refugees coming from Somalia, mainly because of the problems there are in Somalia. Okay, it's basically the largest refugee camp, right, in the world. The population is 50% of the population is between the age of 0 and 14. The outlook is amazingly bleak. Just to stand still, they need 1,000 wells, just to stand still, right? And if you can imagine, only 3% of the population has any form of electricity, right? You can just imagine the kind of place this is. This really is no joke. These are desperate people. So this is their reality, and I just wanted to show you that. These are the kind of houses they live in. We've seen it before. This really is that one. That's their toilet. Right? These are the kind of houses they live in. Right? It's just absolutely desperate. There's nothing else going on here. This boy has never been to school. When I looked at him, he's never brushed his teeth. His teeth are going to fall out. Right? These guys, when they saw us, they ran, towards us because we, just opened a well with their little jerry cans, running to get water. This is what these guys look like. I could put a lot of worse pictures, but I didn't want to because I thought there may be more children here, so I didn't want to upset, especially the youngsters. So what do we do? What are the marginal gains? right, that we can start looking at for this kind of area? Well, one of the first things you can do is start with water. You've got to start with basics. You know, you can't do anything without giving people water. Okay, and the first thing you do is you try and make sure that the water source is not contaminated, it's protected, it's accessible to villagers, to students, to schools, etc. You just have to do something basic. That well costs £240 to cup. That's it. That's all it is. £240. Environmental restoration. Plant trees. Trees, neem trees particularly, are good for places of drought, according to various sources. That lady over there in the picture is in charge of that well. She's been empowered to provide free water to everybody, and she guards that, and she looks after it, and she makes sure that nobody, no animals go in there, no children go and contaminate stuff. And next to it, if you see behind, there is a bit of, we've given her seeds, and she's planting fruits or vegetables, and she's either using that for herself or going to the market and selling them, right? And this is all about giving them that little bit of dignity and making them, empowering them to do something for themselves. Small things, marginal gains. Solar. I know that girl looks very unhappy, but I promise you she was. Most of the people there were quite happy. But this is a school where we provided 200 children solar lamps. That solar lamp cost £5. Let me tell you why. They burn kerosene inside the house. It's the kids are unwell. The family gets unwell. The family, the parents can't go to work because they're ill. The children are dying. They're not studying at night. They're killing themselves by burning kerosene. £5 literally saves them equivalent over the few months in kerosene and not burning. And the health effects are amazing. They can use it outside the house, as you can see in that picture there. Oops, as you can see in the picture there, right? Ladies also using it outside. People don't go for prayers at night because it's too dark. The mosque is supposed to be, like this place, the center of the community, the hub of the community. Providing mosques with lights. Now, since I've come back, 21 mosques have been given solar lights. They cost about £100. And people are now reading Quran. They're staying for Isha. They're running some madrasas. And basically, you're giving people a little bit more to do and creating a cohesive community. £100. That's all. £5 for a child to study with their parents. This is after I came back. You know, a child studying with a parent, we do it all the time, take it for granted. Just press a switch and the light comes on. And this child was burning kerosene. They've now got a solar light. This person is actually praying Quran. This lady I found, when we didn't expect this, and this is another success of marginal gain, when the children had gone to bed, went outside and she was using the solar light to actually work. So the next day she could take this to the market and sell. Economic upliftment, which we didn't expect. What else do they need? Well, I've got Mohsin Bhai here, Siptan Bhai here today, and I'm going to introduce him in a bit. But with Siptan Bhai, who's the founder and chairman of Desk and Chairs in Mwanza, pretty much focuses on, well, he started off focusing on desks, providing desks and chairs for schools. If you go to Tanzania, if you go to a school, to a secondary school, you have to provide your own desks and chairs, right? They don't have money for anything, let alone desks and chairs. And most of them sit on the floor. That picture there, and as you can see Siptan Bhai, who's here with me, standing there, and this is where they sit. Providing them with desks and chairs pretty much gives them dignity, gives them somewhere to sit, and at least they can try and learn, and just create a better environment. It's just a simple thing. How much does a desk and chair cost, Siptan Bhai? Yeah, 110,000 is what? £60 for a desk and chair for 4 people to sit, in a class. That's all. This is a school we visited with Siptan Bhai. And this was their original water source. This is a school near Bukoba, right? Yeah. And you can see the children and some of their teachers there. And this school was a school of about 320 children, roughly 350 children. Okay, they were drinking from this source. Now you might provide solar lamps, you might provide seating, but again, if you don't provide fresh water, these kids are not going to learn anything. They're going to be ill most of the time. So providing them with water in schools is as important as providing water for villages. Yeah, and this is a classic example of encouraging and doing little things that make a big difference in a schooling environment. Another one. Sorry?
How much was that one?
What, the well? The well is about $1,000, $1,200. Start to finish, and I know Siptan Bhai will talk about it a bit later, but it is that. Cupping wells is £240. Doing a proper well is, as I said, $1,200. Yeah. Another thing that stops girls going to school is conditions like this. This is a toilet in a school that we visited, especially when girls who've reached the age of puberty and have their time of the month, unfortunately, will not go to school. If they have to be faced with things like this, they won't go to school. No desks, no chairs, no water, no toilets, and if there is toilets, it's that. In Tanzania, 1 toilet to every 100 child? Schools.
No, if it's girls, it's
20, yeah.
boys is 25.
Oh, so it's that. So it's not. The one we went to was much. The one we went to was 1 to 100 probably. Yeah. Okay. And with the help of Siptan Bhai, 12 toilets here are being built, and pretty much will transform that school, and it'll obviously encourage children to go to that school just because there are better facilities than they can find near home. Yeah. And I think that's a really important point. Other things we can do is actually make people more self-sufficient. So one of the schemes that we were looking at in Nakuru, outside Nairobi, is providing people with about $200 to start up their own business. We're not just giving them money, we're actually training them how to handle money. And with Dubai Bank, which is a local bank there, we set up a scheme that pretty much teaches those people how to handle money. They're given $200 to go and start a hairdressing course, hairdressing salon, or selling clothes, or doing laundry, or doing tailoring, or doing whatever they want to do. Even mobile phone charging. It's anything. Selling water. Going to 10 kilometers walking and getting water, and then coming back and selling it to villagers. All of those things. And let me tell you, since this scheme started, 85% of the people have paid back. 20% have come back and asked for more because they wanted to buy more stock. Now, that's about 100 families taken out of poverty as a result and made more self-sufficient. The economic effect of 100 people being able to spend money with others is also quite profound. So it's not just about families, it's about giving them dignity and providing self-support. Again, marginal improvement, marginal gain, you making a huge impact in these guys, these families' lives. So these are all the examples of marginal gains, but we can do better than that. And the reason why I did the story of Mario Capecchi and Matt Parker was both of them have got a place. And what we can do is we can do lots of little things that make big impact for individuals. But what about if we did something and put all those marginal gains together, all the marginal improvements, and created a model community that has schools, that has mosques, that has solar panel, that has wells, that has proper sanitation, that has farmland next to it for irrigation, and etc. Pretty much you can create a role model by learning, by putting together all these marginal gains, because we can make lots of things and do lots of things in lots of different places, but bring them together and change the whole community, and that would make a much bigger impact. So one of the projects that we're working with Siptenbai is in Mantera, which is not far from Wanza, where this particular project is underway. And I think you'll probably touch on that a bit later. Yeah. The other thing we talked about, which is very important, is, especially in Africa, a lot of women seem to be, a lot of men folks seem to leave their women alone with the children and go to different places and pretty much leave them as single parents. And that means if you've got 4 or 5 children, you have no nurseries, you have no nurse, of any kind. These women can't leave their children anywhere. They can't go and do any work. And part of what we have to do is provide vocational training, basic literacy, basic, vocational courses such as, tailoring, cooking, etc. And one of the projects that we started in Nairobi particularly, where we've taken 10 women pretty much for 6 months for about £300, have been given literacy and numeracy skills. They've been given a particular vocation. They've then been given an internship, and then they've been given a microfinance to go and start their own business. For £300, 10 women, each, £300 each, so that's £3,000. 10 women with their 5 children average, almost taken out of poverty, right? And these are very simple things that make a big difference. They're part of the community. And again, providing buildings is great, providing schools is great, providing all the facilities is great, but if they haven't got any jobs, they haven't got anything to look forward to when they wake up in the morning, and be a role model for their own children, you just haven't achieved anything. So there are lots of things that we can do. Other things we're looking at is, providing providing bicycles and tricycles for disabled, for teachers. Teachers don't want to go to school because it's too far for them to go, right? So provide bicycles. Bicycle costs £75, roughly, fully, £70, fully. And that's it. They've got a place, they can go and fetch water with it, they can go to school, they can, they can go to mosques, they can, whatever it is that they need to do, they're able to do, pretty much. And the main thing is about providing things like that to teachers and students, and particularly women who go and fetch water far away, and making it a bit easier for them. So, can we bring all these small marginal gains and small ideas and make them into something big? And I think when they're all woven together, it does make a very big difference. So we're on a journey, and that journey, kind of has been going on for a very long time. So I'd like to kind of pretty much sum up and then ask Siptenbai I'll introduce Siptenbai and ask him to say a few words. What did I learn while I was away? I think I learned 2 things. I learned that every marginal gain in an ordinary life makes extraordinary impact in that one life. So we can't change the world, but we can't change somebody's world. And that's very, very important. There are people in the world who want to go and make history, like Mario Capecchi, like the Bill Gates Foundation, who want to eradicate malaria. There is need for that, and people need to do that. They're going for the big ideas. Can we do big ideas? Or as just simple people, can we simply focus on simple things and provide, do simple things that will create the marginal gain that we're looking for? I'm in the place where I think marginal gain makes a big difference. And I think if that is where you're at, then I think we can really, really make a big difference together. So lots of marginal gains makes a big difference. And I think that's what I wanted to end it with. And with this one thought that I hope sums up kind of where I was going with this talk. And I'm going to read it to you because it really resonates with me. And I'd like everybody to think that, if when they read this, and I'll read it to all of you, is when I'm only one, and this is a quote from Helen Keller, when I'm only one, but still I am one, I cannot do everything, but still I can do something. And because I cannot do everything, I will not refuse to do something that I can do. And I think, to me, that really, really epitomizes what marginal gain is all about, and what individuals can do. And I really hope, the grace of Allah, that Allah gives us all the chance to basically focus on those marginal gains and provide help for the less fortunate than ourselves. And I'm really, really glad today that this one person here who's sitting in front of me really epitomizes marginal gain. And this is, Siptan Bhai Megji. And I'm really, really delighted that he's here today. He's come to visit his elderly mum. And I collared him and said, well, as you're doing all the work and I'm doing all the talking, I think it's better you come and do some talking as well. Siptan Bhai pretty much dedicates his life to lots of marginal gains. He does a lot of work, and we're delighted that we've got him in Mwanza and Bukoba to be able to do some of this work with him. And he's an inspiration to us all, and I really, really hope that he inspires you with some of his stories. So with Nara Salwat, please welcome Siptan Bhai.
My elders, my brothers, and my sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm not very much used to this type of gathering because I'm not a politician or an expert like Aaseem Bhai, but I'll explain you actually what we are doing. As an introduction, as you have heard, my name is Siptan Megji, and at the moment I'm the representative of the Desk and Chair Foundation that is registered in England and in Tanzania also. And also I'm the chairman of Mwanza Jamaat, and I'm the national board member of the National Muslim Council of Tanzania, appointed by the Mufti of Tanzania. Anyway, Aaseem Bhai has covered a lot of things during his visit, what he saw, and what I insisted when he came, that I don't want you to come a flying visit. Normally what happens, people come there, they come one day visit, and then they try to report. But Aaseem Bhai was there for about 3 or 4 days, and we visited some places going vast distances. And one of the distance we covered was Kagera region. We have built some toilets there and some shallow wells there. It's near Mutukula border, near Uganda, and it's about 560 kilometers. This is one area we covered. And we handed over a few shallow wells there, and we saw the problems the school, that Muslim school, was facing. The Muslim school had about 350 girls, and about 300 boys. But the toilets, when we visited, the toilets had no doors, and they're all pit latrines, and the state was how you saw in the photos. What is happening actually in Tanzania, it is a very sad story for Muslims, because there is a colonial effect. It was there. During colonial times, Muslims were regarded as a second-class citizen. Very much, unfortunately, after the independence, the trend continued, and the position of Muslims now is worse than that was during the colonial times. Good thing that during now near times, during near years, there is now awareness that something needs to be done to remove this Islamophobia, the way Aaseem explained. And one thing we thought was that we should not sit and always try to praise what others are doing. I have attended many meetings, and many times we hear that Christians are doing A, B, C, D, and Wahhabis are doing this. But what are we doing? That's how we started, that we should go in the field, and then we also do humanitarian assistance that will give us the credit for what we are doing rather than complaining or confronting. And these things has created a lot of difference now at the moment after we being seen that we are also part of assisting, and rather than the way before or after independence, especially Asians were named as Wanyonyaji, this is the suckers, or Mabepari, the capitalists. This is actually what we were labeled. And when I took over as a chairman of Mwanza Jamaat, our mosque was known as Msikiti wa Wahindi, so mosque for Asians. But now things have changed. If you come to the airport, if you tell a taxi driver that I want to go to Msikiti wa Shia, it's Nashri, he will come and bring you there. They know. Now this is all changes happen due to these small projects that is creating a massive impact. Having given you this introduction, I'll just narrate your story. Very recently, I don't know if you know Brother Mahmoud Damji. Mahmoud Damji at the moment is in Ottawa, but he's an ex-resident of Mwanza Jamaat. And after Aaseem left, he paid us a visit. And I was taking him the same round. We went with Aaseem, so we visited a well there. Normally, this type of visits, when we do it unannounced. We don't tell those people that we are coming, so that the guest sees the maximum impact of what actually fund he or she is donating. So we visited Kisesa Kona. Kisesa Kona is about 30 kilometers from Mwanza city. And there, when we went there, we found out that there was one guy there who was drawing water from a well, and he has 7 20 liters drums ready, his drum, and he was trying to adjust those gallons or those jerrycans on the bicycle. And we went there near, and I started asking him, how do you think that this well is benefiting you? And then we realized that that person who has drawn that water was a blind man. So with his sixth sense, he could come to the well, draw water, and go back. But the best part of this thing, he was a Christian, and another thing, that he being blind, what he was doing now, he was drawing that water and then going to sell that water, 100 shillings for one jerrycan of 20 liters. So every trip he did, he got 700 shillings. And he was doing about 5 trips per day. So he was getting 3,500 shillings per day just by drawing water, selling water from that well, and then, and minimum wage in Tanzania for a domestic servant is 65,000 shillings at the moment. For a commercial, it is 80,000. So by selling water, he could gain more than minimum wage. Not only that, and we continued asking him questions now. He had a wife, 3 kids at home. And he told us that he was now managing to pay his children's school expenses in a government school with that money he was earning. So this is a small project. You can see how impact it has created to one family. Another is whenever we do wells, actually, what is the culture of Africans? Culture of Africans, fetching of water is job of women. So what is happening at the moment, there's so many pressure groups there, they're trying to change the culture by telling them the women are not supposed to do this work. So there is a lot of problems now in the families. They are used to their culture, and now all of a sudden somebody comes and tries to change that. Fetching of firewood is job of a woman. So we thought that rather than trying to change their culture, you bring the water to the doorstep. So the pressure is over now. Even the woman has to collect water. She doesn't have to walk 6, 8, 10 kilometers to go and fetch a bucket of water. She gets there on the doorstep. And one shallow well, very well done, can serve 300 people per day. So it's nearly the whole village can get the water from that well. So this way, now it has brought a lot of difference. Another thing, because the water now is available nearby, you can see small houses. They've got small, as mentioned, small, what we call vegetable farms. So again, that vegetable is helping them either by selling or again using for their own family. So they get whatever extra nutrients. So this is about water now. While we were doing water, initially we started with only shallow wells. And when we go deep in the villages, we realized there are serious issues that we need to involve ourselves so that to go away with our religious, moral, and ethical responsibility. Because we are there, we are earning there, and sending our qams, zakat, or whatever, hukuk funds outside, it is illogical. Because we are earning there. So we started this campaign, and we found out that there were serious issues. You have seen the photos of the toilet. They are worst photos you can see. And whenever we went in the school, you can see the teachers complaining. As Aaseem mentioned it, students are not attending. Whatever the reason, the main reason was sanitation-related disease. This was creating a lot of problem. So we started some experiment projects by providing good toilets to schools. So what we did initially, we started providing 6 toilets to schools. Whatever the population was, but we would provide very good 6 toilets, pit latrines, and 2 for teachers, 2 for boys, 2 for girls. And our first project we did in Nyanguge village is about 27 kilometers from Mwanza. And after 6 months, we started now getting the information that the toilets are working very well and the attendance of the children is very good. So we started building other schools. So from 6 we made to 10 now. And from 10 now we are providing 12 toilets to every school. According to the regulations of the authorities, that after every 20 girls there needs to be 1 toilet. And after every 25 boys there needs to be 1 toilet. The schools are heavily populated. I don't know if you are getting any updates. Those who are getting, if you refer to one school we visited in Igombe. Igombe is just about 8 miles from the town center. And in that school, we got shock of our life. 1,600 students, 8 classes, no toilets virtually. Only 31 desks were there. So immediately we provided them with 12 toilets, and then we provided them with about 100 desks. So now we are continuing with this. Another thing is we do there is, again, to create difference in the life is those people who are victims of polio. Polio has been eradicated in Tanzania, but those who already have. You can see, today we have not been able to provide video clips, but I could have shown you how somebody with polio crawls on the streets. He literally crawls, or she. By providing him a simple tricycle that is made there in Mwanza, or made in Tanzania, it changes the life overnight. Not only simplicity of life now, but again, the tricycle is designed in such a way they can do petty business. Shoe polish, very good business for a disabled person. Vegetable selling, small soft drink selling. For ladies, they normally are very good at pleating hairs, so they go to the customers and gain more money. And we started doing these tricycles, and again, we came to know that it has created an immense impact on by providing these tricycles. Okay, Aaseem has already talked about providing solar lamps. Again, electricity is a serious issue in East Africa, and first remedy is solar lamps. Solar lamps, as I said, £5, and it can create a massive difference in the villages because no kerosene fumes. You save with kerosene, and saving is real because kerosene at the moment in Tanzania is more expensive than petrol. Yeah, petrol is 2,300 per liter, kerosene is 2,500 per liter right now. So you can see the problems. Okay, challenges that we are facing now. First thing, I'll talk about the advantages about what we are doing. As I mentioned that before, as Asians or maybe as Shias, we were not doing much. Or if we are doing in the closed doors for ourselves only. Now we have started coming out. The biggest advantage, if you keep aside our religious, moral and ethical responsibility, the biggest advantage is now Islamophobia, this. The hatred that was being planted against Shias or against Asians is now coming to a very low stage. You can go somewhere and there is no abuses. You can sit with them. This is all happening because now they accept us because of providing these humanitarian facilities. This is the biggest advantage that we are now, experiencing. That whenever you go, they know, okay, these people are helping us. They are not here now to snatch our land or now here to try to suck whatever previously as we were accused of. So this is the biggest advantage that we are experiencing now. We have been doing some small projects like providing kafans. Kafan is again a big issue. I went to one village and I experienced one burial. It was being buried in Sandarusi, they call it in Kiswahili. It's a material that is being used to cover the second-hand clothes. So man was buried in that. Initially I thought maybe it is to do with some contaminated disease, HIV or something, but when I asked them, they said, no, we cannot afford a kafan because from Mantare, if you go to Mwanza, it's 65 kilometers. By the time the kafan comes, it's 30,000 shillings. So we started giving that for free. What we do is normally we leave about 10 kafans in each mosques, and then we follow up as they're being used, and we top up. One kafan is costing us now only 20,000 shillings. This has created a very, very big impact because even if a Wahhabi dies, he comes to us for kafan. Even a Christian dies, he comes to us for kafans. At the moment, we have got a donor who donates, but what I'm trying to tell you is it was a small thing, and it has created such a harmony and mingling that even if a Wahhabi sheikh starts abusing, he will get somebody there to tell him, no, it's not that, because these people are assisting. And these people are doing all this. So this is how and what we are doing actually on the field when we visit in the village. Challenges. We must realize that we are dealing with people who are uneducated. We are dealing with people who are very, very poor. And the biggest challenge at the moment we are facing is education support. Now, we are talking in general terms, but again, mainly affected people are Muslims, irrelevant of mazhabs. Education support, initially when a child of somebody who wants to enter a primary age, He has to be in the school. Initial entrance in the school is costing about 100 pounds, it's about 250,000, because while entering, you need to go with your own desk. That will cost about 100,000 shillings. Uniform, books, ream of paper. And then because politics also is involved in schools, you have to go with your own hoe, a broom, a grass cutter, and so many equipment. So that comes to about average of about 250,000 shillings. And then after that, the education is free. One has to pay only 20,000 for next 7 years if he's in primary school. If he's in secondary school, he has to pay 20,000 for 4 years. Now, the challenge again comes because the students cannot pay. So either he is in school if he can pay, or he is on streets if he cannot pay. So this is a serious challenge right now we are facing. Besides all the work we are doing, and you must, I don't know if you are following, you must have heard the recent census that has been done in Tanzania. We are about 49.5 million people there. So it is, again, a serious issue. Again, education-related challenges are equipments, those who are in university, who are being sponsored by sponsors. They don't have simple equipments like laptops to do their research work, and that, again, is a challenge, especially for women students. Now, because we are doing with normal humanitarian assistance, but we are doing in accordance with our faith. So another challenge now is our sheikh salaries, because whenever we go to do something in the village, we try to see if we can make a permanent imprint there. So by doing this, is just to keep one good sheikh there who needs to be paid. Again, salary is about 100 pounds a month. This will cover his rent, monthly rent when he stays there. A small expense is something like medical and salary. Salary, we pay them about 150,000 shillings. The rent is about 50,000 shillings, and maybe another expense that might come. And what we do is those areas where we have got about 100 shears, we provide the sheikh with a motorbike so that he can move for tabligh purposes. But this is all we try to connect while this work is going on. We have one project we are doing with Aaseem is about building up a school in Mantare. Mantare, again, is a predominant Christian area, and Muslims there also, but again poor. So once the school is completed, we will be able to assist there at a subsidized rate education that we will be able to provide according to how we want, not our students going to like missionary schools and all like this. Yeah. I think I've covered it. Yes. Maybe.
Thank you, Aaseem Uncle and Sibtain Uncle. It was very inspiring, and I hope it inspires a lot of us to get more involved and realize that marginal gains can make a big impact. I'd now like to open up the floor to question and answers. We have about 10 minutes, and then I hope you both can stay and answer other questions if there are any. I'll start with the women, if there is anyone that has a question. While the women are thinking, are there any men that have any questions? Yeah, 1 second.
Two short questions.
Yeah.
One is just the solar lamps. The solar lamps, where are they from? Are they manufactured locally or are they Chinese?
Yeah, I think Aaseem will answer this. Yeah.
Before I went, I investigated. There's a charity called Solar Aid, which is a Washington-based charity, and they pretty much send these solar. So it's American technology. It's made in China, but it's very cheap. And what they've done is they've created this charity called Solar Aid They provide these in Africa, but they don't actually sell it. So they spend a lot of the money on research and development and providing it. And what they want is people to be selling those. So you'll find companies called Sunny Money, which is companies that actually sell solar. And we managed to see them when we were there in Nairobi. And because we said that we were a charitable organization, they pretty much subsidize us by about 40%. So they go out in lots of villages and places doing these demonstrations, but they want people to buy. And what we found was people haven't got money to buy. So
at 5 pounds, you managed to get them at the level at the location that you wanted.
yeah. So £5 was, I mean, the cost of location and whatever that was subsidized. The lamp itself is £5.
My next short question is relating to the population census that you alluded to, 49.5 million. What percentage are Muslims in Tanzania today?
Okay, this is again a very sensitive issue. What happened now during the census period? Muslims were demanding that the counting should be done, counting the religion of the person, but the government denied. But the figures are that we are almost 50-50. Yeah, we are almost 50-50. But the poverty level is very bad.
So my other question is that, I mean, over the years, I have had experiences with lots of organizations in Kenya and Tanzania doing this type of work, and I'm 100% sure you are fully aware of all the other, particularly kosher groups and individuals and institutions who do similar type of work, from Bilal Muslim Mission to individuals like Suhail in Mombasa or Haji Saib in Dar es Salaam or Datu in Bukoba or wherever. Do you guys all meet and communicate and share best practice and in terms of economies of scale or learning from each other, or are you all sort of separate organizations? And in relating to that, I also wanted to know, within your organization, whatever you call it, desks and chairs or whatever, I want to know what resource do you have? We are all, none of us are immortal. I want to know how robust is the organization in terms of people around you who also continue with this work.
Okay, with meetings of people who are doing the same work, I would tell you that the need is massive. Need is massive. This is number one. Number two, there are so many organizations. For example, when it comes to Tabligh in Mwanza, we work under the banner of Bilal Muslim Mission. And under Bilal Muslim Mission Mwanza, we have got 3 regions to cover. That is Kagera, Bukoba, and Singida. So Singida is under Mwanza and Mwanza itself. So when it comes to Tabligh or Tabligh-related projects, that's how we work. So automatically Bukoba is under me. Amidatu, as far as Tabligh is concerned, he is under me. And we have revived very recently 3 branches in Bukoba, that is Karutanga, and Chamba, and Muleba. These were very long back branches, but they're not functioning well. But since we started visiting there, so we have been able to. So that's how we meet. And we pass Haji Saib normally in every 2 years. He calls everybody at Kibaha, and normally we exchange our ideas. Haji Saib supports us by subsidizing the students whom we send. So he has got so many programs. And for failures also, he has got very good programs, and he only charges about 20,000 shillings a month. It's highly subsidized. So that's how we meet, and then we cooperate in that way. Yeah. About the second question, it's about Desk and Chair Foundation is, we started in 2003, and we got our registration in Tanzania in 2004. So as everybody is doing, we are also doing. But as far as resources are concerned, it's the family is pouring in, and we accept funds from donors also. But our reporting is, I don't know if you are receiving, those who are receiving our reports, that's how we report, yeah.
Just to go back to your first question as well, one of the things that Peter Charitable Trust, who I represented for this, one of our objectives was that when I went to see Mohsin Sharif in Nairobi, There's a lady called Femida Mirali, who runs a Montessori school in Nakuru, and Nazneen Karim, wife of Asif Karim, the cricketer. Obviously Siptanbai and a few others. And what BCT is doing is pretty much trying to group these various people together. So Solar Project, for example, is being run, and it's been sourced from the same place, and is being run, therefore, through the BCT with Mohsin Bai and with the Siptanbai. In Nakuru, the lady is doing the microfinance project. So she's going to be teaching Nazneen Bai and her organization called the Abyssine Sisters Network to run a microfinance program and vocational courses. So what we're trying to do through BCT is try and bring those things together. So although there are no meetings, we seem to be the conduits who are actually saying this person's doing well. So Siptanbai does, the wells that he produces will last for 25 odd years. He's already got one that's lasted that long. And we're going to ask Mohsin Sharif to send a few people to learn from Siptanbai, and perhaps then take it to Wajir. Once we've done the cupping of the wells, which is the most important thing first, it's low cost. The next thing is how do you increase the life of the shallow wells? So you have to go down the route that Siptanbai has done, which is to provide proper wells. So in terms of answering your question, I think it's our responsibility here, if we're doing these field visits, can we actually bring these learnings together? Lots of people doing lots of things who are very experts at what they do, and it's our responsibility to share that with others. So that's one of the ways that BCT is looking to do that.
Are there any questions from the ladies? One final question from the men.
Assalamu alaikum. Thanks very much for your inspiring talk. I just have a few questions about what sort of crime prevention sort of happens, and how do you sort of combat issues like that, and do you do anything about AIDS and diseases like that specifically?
Yeah, about crime, I explained you that whenever we go, we like to keep an imprint there for common imprint. The sheikhs are the best people who are trained for that. So we use mimbar. Now the sheikhs actually, we tell him what are the problems of the area, and during the Juma khutbah, because the language that is being used now there is Kiswahili. So that's the best way to do it. And that's the best way at the moment. The authorities are encouraging to use mosques and churches and places like that to combat these kind of problems, drug abuse, HIV, or crime. So Mimbar is the best place, and that is why we are trying to connect these two things, the humanitarian assistance we are providing, with that we do also tabligh. So this is helping us to reduce that Islamophobia, number one. Number two is also helping to answer your questions now, that the sheikh are trained that way. Because the sheikhs, there are so many houses there, and we normally send our sheikhs there in houses. What we do, for example, in Mwanza region, the predominant tribe is Sukuma tribe. So we try to send Sukuma people in the houses. Once they're qualified, when they come back, they can talk Kisukuma, their own language, and Kiswahili also. So that is helping us a lot, and this is actually one of the targets we are keeping. So wherever we find 100 Shias, we build them a mosque, 2 or 3 classes for madrasa or nursery, and then we take off from there. But the media we use is the mimbar and the sheikhs. Yeah.
Last question from Ali.
Is there any resistance to what you're doing, either from local politicians or from the local community, and or do they want to cut, or what sort of environment are you working in? I'm sure it's not just, you turn up and build a well.
Yeah, the biggest resistance we have pressing is from Wahhabis. And the resistance is just normal propaganda and big talks. But again, we have derived a system whereby we are combating that also. Number one is we introduced a radio program, 3 hours a day. It's 1.5 hours in the afternoon, Kiswahili, lectures of prominent sheikhs like Sheikh Abdullah Nasir. I don't know if you are aware of him. Sheikh Aidurus is upcoming, and there are other sheikhs. We in Mwanza and Dar es Salaam, we have got very good sheikhs. For example, our main Bilal Sheikh, he has been trained in Iran for 5 years. He can speak fluent Arabic, fluent Persian, fluent Kiswahili. And the night program, 1.5 hours, that is from 9 o'clock to 10:30, is live lectures on the radio. This has created a very good impact, actually. So 1 hour, he speaks on any topic, and then half an hour he gets live question answer. This way, there are about 2 villages who many people have converted to Shia now in 2 villages. It's Malia and Malampaka. So Malia, we already have got a branch there because there are already about 100. So one way is this. Second way is we have opened up a very good shop, bookshop. And Kiswahili books printed by Alitra Foundation, Bilal Muslim Mission, are available there at very, very low rates. So this is another, because African culture, they read a lot, and radio is in their blood. So these are the 2 things that we normally target. The third is we try to distribute as much books as possible when we go in the villages. So this is how but resistance is there, yeah, definitely. But this mainly is Wahhabi. The Christians are not that much, they're uncomfortable at the moment, the Christians, what is happening. Because when we provide our assistance, it's very much different than theirs. They are getting a lot of subsidy from the government. In January 2011 up to June 2011, the government provided them 600 billion shillings to run their projects. That is Christians, Catholics, hospitals, schools. On contrary, the Muslims are not getting anything. But still, when you go there, the impact of our project is more because a lot of people now are converting to Islam. So this is but we are facing resistance, yes.
I think on one of them we found when I was there that a politician was particularly putting pressure on September to put the toilets in one of the constituents he was in, and we decided that he should because it would have a positive impact. But also there was a need in that school. It was just chosen as a reason of that. Sometimes you have to play the game. Because that politician will hopefully then open other doors, and all we want to do is do the right thing. So sometimes it justifies it, and we didn't give him any money; we just provided something that was necessary. So when I'm not going to sit here thinking we're going to not do those things. I think we have to. It's just we have to do it for the right reasons and the right impact. Before we finish, I just wanted to end on one thing, if I can. We've talked about marginal gains and we've talked about big impact, and I think it would be foolish of me not to say this at the end. We're trying to build a center, a Salam center. Yeah, at the end of the day, we're going for something quite big, quite adventurous, something that perhaps is going to be a different mountain that we're climbing to the mountain we're in. There is a purpose for that. There's a need for that. And I think if we take the story of marginal gains, it's just not about Africa. It's also about our neighborhood. It's about what we want to do here. And Salam Center takes us to that next level. It's that mountain that we need to climb, the different mountain. And if everybody contributes to that, then I think the chances are we'll be able to do a good job. So when people are thinking about marginal gains, they should think about Salam Center as well. And I just wanted to end it with that.